Samoa Saleebey here on the show. He is the CEO and founder of a company called PODIFY. Billy, I'm going to pass it over to you. Can you go ahead and give us a little background on PODIFY?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Excited to have the conversation. I started PODIFY actually can't even say last year anymore. It was at the end of 2020.
The Roaring 20s.
Yeah, now the Roaring 20s. So right in the middle of the pandemic, we started PODIFY, which is a podcast services company. We do everything A to Z to help podcasters promote and produce their shows. And the reason why that came about is I was a podcaster myself. I had spent over a year podcasting and realized there's a lot that goes into it. And I also realized it's so fun to make a podcast, but because it's so much work, I know people need a little bit of help. So we created the company to do just that. We do everything from helping with the actual creation of the show and the formation. We help people launch podcasts, but then we also help people who are existing podcasters. Maybe they want help marketing their show or promoting it or doing things on social media. And so for me, what we really try to do is lighten the load of a podcaster so they could focus on their superpower, the thing they like doing most, which is hitting that record button and actually having conversations or talking about topics they love to talk about. So that's what PODIFY is.
So you're experienced in podcasting. You're not a guy who just said, I'm going to teach people how to do their podcasts. You have done it yourself. You've been through the process, and you know, like anybody else who's tried to do this, there's a lot that goes on. It is very much to the core a good conversation with great topics being covered, but post-production, there's a lot that goes into it. You got to get the sound right. You got to just get everything together, make it look like a really nice put together product so that people can really extract the information. And then after that, you got to get it out to the right eyes so that it doesn't go to waste. So a lot of people can see it. And, you never know. The more eyes that it hits, the sky's the limit.
Right. Well, you could have the best podcast in the world, but if you do a lousy job of marketing and promoting, no one will listen. It's like putting something into the ocean and hoping somebody will find it. It's very unlikely somebody will find it because it's a big ocean out there. And to find something is going to require a map or some way to get to the destination. And really what you want to do for a podcast is give people ways to find your podcast. And it could be through SEO. It could be through social media. It could be through creating short clips that really represent the show and make it clear what the show is all about. It could be that you do paid advertising. I mean, you could do offline marketing and wear a shirt that has your podcast name on it. I mean, you name it, you could do so many different things. It's a lot like writing a book. Most authors understand that in order to get your book out there, you need to participate in a lot of activities to promote your book. And it could be going on radio shows. It could be going on TV. It could be talking to people about your book that are going to write an article about you. I mean, the list is so long, and it's the same thing with the podcast. So most people spend 80% of their time making their podcast and 20% of their time marketing, when in reality, those should be inversed the other direction.
Very, very well said. Very well said. And a lot of people get that confused, and it's unfortunate because it's nice to work on the creative, but you gotta get that sort of automated as quick as possible, because all that time, especially starting off, you gotta get it out there. You gotta get something that you can put out and let's get out there, because the creative can wait. Put something nice, quick, and get it out there.
Well, I love what you said too, right? Because there are so many parts of the process that can be delegated or automated. So the way I think about it is, first of all, what do you not need to do? Like, what can you delete completely because it's not necessary? So first delete, and then once you've deleted something from your workflow, then you can figure out what can you automate? What can you get a computer, a system, software to do for you? Because there is so much technology that exists. And then figure out what can you delegate? What can you delegate to someone else who may be more experienced, who may enjoy doing a part of the equation better than you. You may not love editing. You may not love the process of creating video clips. So offload that. Put that.
You might not have the time.
Exactly.
You might not have the time to learn Premiere editing programs and
exactly. There's a lot that goes into it, and then do the thing that's in your zone of genius. Is it interviewing people? Is it finding interesting topics to explore and to talk about? That's where you can shine as the podcaster, the host, doing all the things necessary to make your show everything that it can be, because you're focusing on the most important part, which is the part that people will really listen to and gravitate toward. And I think that's really the key point here, is that focus on those things that really you should be doing and that only you can do, which is the actual hosting, the interviewing somebody, or maybe you like to do the research before you interview somebody, or maybe you really love the editing. If you do that. I mean, or maybe you love the marketing part, do that. Like think of it from a perspective of what do you enjoy doing the most, and also what are you best equipped to do because you've done it, you have experience doing it, you're good at it, those sorts of things.
How big is your team, Billy? How can you guys? What is the magnitude of what, how many podcasts can you guys take on? Is the sky the limit for you guys? It's a lot of work.
It is, yeah. So the way we operate, so we have a team of 17 right now, and the way we operate is as we take on new clients, we collectively between the management team determine, is there the ability to continue to take clients with our current team, or do we need to expand the team? And we've been fortunate enough to expand the team along the way. So when we first started, we only had 6 people, and we could realize we could only do so much with the number of people that we have, because all of it takes time. Somebody's got to spend that time doing it. If it's not the podcaster and it's somebody on our team, then we got to figure out how do we effectively and efficiently do the work while making sure we're not cutting corners and we're doing a great job. And so it's a great question. Like, we continue to grow because we continue to get new clients, people that want us to help and support their show. And so my company's been around for just over a year. We started at the end of 2020, in December of 2020, and here we are at the beginning of 2022, and we're at 17 people. So I would expect that we'll probably double or triple in size over the next year. But we believe in growing at a pace that was really in line with the workload that we have.
So your confidence is in that podcasting is going to blow up more than it has, right? Every month you're saying there's like 1 million new podcasts, I think a month they're saying. So you're in a good space that's constantly expanding. Not a lot of people are tuning into television anymore. Sometimes you'll put the podcast on the television. Sometimes, that. So it's a growing market.
Yeah, even if the market didn't grow, the good news is there's still so many people podcasting that we're fine, because we help existing and new podcasters. So we're not banking on the industry growing, although I think it will. Actually, I think what will happen now is that we're going to start to see more and more people really start to take their podcast to the next level. And that's what I'm most excited about. Not necessarily the growth, because it will grow at the speed that it'll grow, right? And I'm excited to see the growth, but growth has two sides to it. On one hand, a lot of podcasters start, but then a lot of podcasters stop. We call that pod fading. They do it for 7 episodes, 6 episodes, 12 episodes, then they stop. And to me, that just becomes a sort of a cemetery of podcasts. And I don't like that, to be honest. I would rather have people get in with long-term thinking and be a podcaster as long as they feel inspired to be a podcaster. And hopefully that's a really, really long time. And so I'm also really excited about the proposition of incorporating visual components of podcasts, because even though you're right, a lot of people are watching TV, a lot of people are watching YouTube and other streaming services. And so I'm really bullish on this idea of helping podcasters find their way on YouTube and helping YouTubers find their way as a podcaster. So that's what I'm really excited about, because I think there's a lot of people who are podcasters who haven't cracked the code of YouTube. And also there's a lot of people who are super dynamic, interesting, creative people on YouTube who either don't have the time or haven't made the time to start podcasting or reestablish their show or an element of their show as a podcast. And to me, that's opportunity. And there's so many people that on both sides of that equation that we could support.
Very nice. Very nice. That's very inspiring that you reach out to people and you say, let us take care of all the behind the work stuff. You got the personality. You can recognize that in lots of ways. You're scouting talent. That's awesome. That's very nice.
We can only do so much. My company, we don't have limitless resources. And so we have to be selective on who we work with. And to your point, I want to find talent, people that are, maybe they have all the raw ability to be a extraordinary host, or maybe they're amazing at podcasting, but they haven't done anything on YouTube. So it's like, this is like the ideal person, right? Or maybe there's somebody who's just absolutely extraordinary on YouTube, but they haven't yet done anything in the podcast space. So now I could come in and be like, hey, I don't want to add to your plate, but we can do this for you. And this will be another way for you to reach your audience, another way for you to monetize, another way for you to do whatever it is that you're already doing. But now you have a new medium, a new channel that you could turn on, and we can help you turn on that channel.
Very nice. Very nice. Billy, what would you say are the top, the most important things podcasters should be focusing on if they're not already focused on these things? What should podcasters be looking out for? What are mistakes you're seeing? You named a couple, right? Things that you can eliminate. We covered that you want to automate your process, but what are you noticing out there that people they gotta?
Well, I think first and foremost is it's a noisy world out there, and you got to stand out. So do something different. Don't just do what everybody else is doing. Don't just create another show in a niche that's already saturated with a million other shows. So
Billy, let me ask you this. So what are people doing wrong with podcasting? We already kind of covered it. It was, automation. You got to figure out the automation. What do you see people that they're sort of lacking with? Maybe they're doing too much of or too little of?
Sure. Yeah. So originality is one big one, right? That people got to stand out. They got to do something different than what other people are doing. If you're going to get into a crowded space, how are you going to differentiate yourself from everyone else? And the best way to do that is to think of, how can my show be described in one sentence to somebody else in a really easy way? And in the same way people share their favorite movie, their favorite song, and their favorite person on social media, there's something that makes that event or person stand out. And so figure out how you're going to make your podcast stand out. The second thing I'll say is, remember this: most people, when they're making a podcast, they include everything that they record instead of thinking about the user experience. So only keep what's absolutely necessary. So edit out the rest. Edit out anything that's not absolutely mind-blowing, right? We live in a day and age where people can get any information they want at a moment's notice. And so they want new, or what I like to say is novel information. They want information that's going to surprise them. They want information that's going to make their life better, or they want to be entertained, right? It all comes down, are they being educated or are they being entertained? And if you're educating people, which a lot of podcasts are doing just that, you don't want to give them the same thing they've been given 10 other ways that's exactly the same. You want to give them something new. And so either the delivery mechanism of what information you're giving them is new, or the information itself is new. So the packaging, the way it's described, that could be different, or it's brand new information. Another thing I like to remind people is, try to find guests who are going to challenge conventional wisdom, who are not going to say the exact same thing that another guest would say. So look for people with polarizing beliefs or controversial beliefs, or that maybe you ask them a question like, what's the commonly held belief in your industry that you disagree with. So now you're prompting them to give you an answer that's different, that's unique. And so I'm a big believer in giving people an experience that will wow them, that will make them say literally wow. And the way they'll do that is if they get a whole bunch of new and interesting information that astonishes them. And then the last piece is really comes down to getting your show out there is a hard work, and you have to have a plan. You have to have a strategy. You can't just hope and pray that your show is going to find an audience. It's not going to happen. Otherwise, you're doing a lot of work for very little results. And so the plan it would take literally hours for me to list every way you could market your show, but get creative with it. And also find people who've had success before you, who've laid down a path that you can follow, and follow their path. Go to where your audience is. If your audience is on Reddit, go hang out on Reddit. If they're on Facebook in groups, go hang out in Facebook groups. If they're on TikTok, go to TikTok. You got to know your audience so well and know where they hang out online, especially because that's the easiest way for you to find a lot of people quickly. And go hang out with them. Go find them and make friends with them and get them to become super fans of your show. Start with the first 50 super fans. Who are the people who always listen to your show? Focus on them and then build out from there.
Very nice. Very nice. That's a very common misconception, right? People want to reach millions and then they end up reaching maybe nobody because it's all just not packaged right. It's not put together right. And it's really unfortunate because, like you said, you want your hard work to be seen, right? Do something original. Try to do something that not everybody is doing, right? I think we got a lot of motivation out there. We got a lot of positive talk, and you want to hear people's stories. You know, I think one of my most popular episodes people talk to me about is a novelist who writes dark fiction, and we talked about dark fiction and topics and how that attributes to characters in real life, and people love that stuff. So it's like the stuff you least would expect, but you have to allow yourself to get that freedom to even conduct those things. And if you get lost in the sauce, which you easily can, you know.
That's funny, man. I've heard that, lost in the sauce. Yeah, it's so true, man. And, you know, you focus on the wrong things and the results are going to be really, really hard to get. That's why you got to look for people who've already done it, see what they've done, and borrow. You don't need to copy them exactly, but maybe there's a few things they've done really, really well that you can bring into your own approach, methodology, and the way in which you go out and you find the people that you're looking for.
Very nice. Very nice. Billy, how can people find you? Where do you have your podcast still? Is PODIFY your main? Is this where you're putting all your attention into? What other endeavors are you participating in at the moment?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. Yeah, I have a few different places where you can find me. First, for those who are active on LinkedIn, go find me on LinkedIn. I post there regularly, and it's a great place to connect. I love the platform and get to know people really well there. I do have two podcasts that I still run on a weekly basis. Inside Out, which is Insight Out. So just go to insideoutshow.com, and also For the Love of Podcasts. So Inside Out is a show all about those transformational, life-changing insights. I interview remarkable people and highlight the lives of remarkable people, world changers, and really find out what has defined their life and what have been those moments of insight that have made them who they are today. And then For the Love of Podcasts, just fortheloveofpodcast.com, is a show all about podcasting where we talk about topics like we talked about today. I've interviewed some of the greatest podcasters of our time, Hall of Famers in the podcast space, really, really dissecting, decoding, demystifying the podcast experience A to Z, finding out what makes one podcast stand out from every other podcast. To your point, there's millions and millions of podcasts out there, and there needs to be something about the DNA of a podcast that makes one show do better than others. It could be the host, it could be their marketing, it could be any number of things. And so we really tackle that and talk about how to make our podcast stand out from the crowd.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. You got two shows. Would you advise that for people? I see a lot of people doing that. They got multiple shows, actually. You know, they have a lot of the comedians in the space seem to have shows with cross comedians, and you see that a lot. You know, is that you know, sticking to a topic you think is important instead of having one podcast that's like you said, you have one with people that breaks down their stories and how they became who they are, and then you have one that's about everything podcasting, right? Instead of one show that's just like one day we talk about people, one day it's you think it's important to keep things organized in this way?
Here's the thing. Everybody's got to do what's right for them. There is no podcast police, much to the surprise of everyone who tries to follow the rules. So do what's right for you in your situation. It may be that you want to have a passion project that you just like doing. You want to do a show about Squid Game because you love the TV show, right? And then you do another show that's going to help with your business and give you more of a personal branding edge compared to your competitors, or maybe you want to do something entirely different. So I do what's right for you. For me, I had one show that I felt was like my long-term show that I wanted to spend some time on, which is Inside Out. And then I did more of a niche show in the podcast space. So, you hear people say niche down, and there's been some people that have said niche down again, and then niche down until it hurts. And really that is an important part of the equation, is determining who you're speaking to. And that's why having a specific audience, a specific niche is going to be fundamental to you finding your success in the podcast space. And so I wanted to have a show where I knew it was a clearly defined niche and a little bit broader oriented show, because I want to talk about an assortment of topics. So figure out what you want to talk about, what you're most excited about, what you have a long-term sustainable interest in. It doesn't need to be your passion. It could be, but what do you have long-term interest in? And look at it with a 10-year lens, not a 5-year lens. And then start to figure out, okay, who can I bring on? What can I talk about? Will I be able to do this for the long haul? And if the case is yes, then you maybe have found your topic. And maybe it's one show, one genre, one episode, one podcast, or maybe you do 2 different shows, or maybe you do 3. I do think limiting it so you can focus is not a bad idea. And so I wouldn't say as a general rule, somebody should have more than one show. If I were going to give advice, I would say start with one and get really good at that one, and then expand from there.
Very nice. Very, very well said. Right. Don't jack of all trades can be a long road. So very nice. Very nice, Billy. Let me ask you this. What keeps you going? Are you you do meditation, you do reading? What keeps you going spiritually? What keeps you going?
Yeah, well, I get juice out of other people. So for me, it's all about meeting new people, learning their story, finding out what they do to inspire themselves. And I'm so fortunate to be in the position that I am, that I constantly am meeting new people. So I'm meeting you today, for example. I'm meeting new clients that I'm taking on, and then helping them realize their vision. Because the thing is that most people just need a little bit of help navigating the direction that they're going to make sure they stay on course. If you look at an airline pilot, if they're 1 degree off course, they'll crash. And I think life isn't too dissimilar. We're often very close to the direction and navigating a course that feels right, looks right, seems right, but chances are it may be just slightly off one direction or the other. And if I could provide some guidance, and my team, who I've assembled just an extraordinary group of humans that specialize in certain areas. We have people that specialize in podcast growth, people that specialize in podcast production, people who specialize in the pre and post production, people that specialize in social media. And so all of these different elements, you need somebody to give you the edge you need to make sure that you're going down the right direction. Because if you're going down the wrong direction, it may not appear that way, but it may in fact be that way. And it's not ideal to be going down the wrong path and not realizing it, when you could have just made a small micro adjustment and it would have made all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. What is it? The unnamed spear never misses, right? So that's a very good point. You could not even know sometimes that you can just gotta make a quick little change and you're in the right track. But Can easily time is a very valuable resource, and you can very easily invest it in the right places as well as the wrong places. So if you guys want to get your podcast out there, you want to blow it up, take it to the next level, Billy's got a team that specializes across the board. Guys, get in there. Billy, once again, how can people get access to your company and all the information?
Yeah, if you want to get access to the company, just go to podify.com, podify.com. It's podify.com, and you could find a link there. You could schedule some time. We could do a strategy session. I could learn more about your show. I look at any of these partnerships as partnerships, right? When I work with a podcaster, you're choosing me, I'm choosing you, because there are other people out there who you can work with, and frankly, there are other people out there that I can work with. And so, want to get a chance to meet you, get to know you, understand you, get a feeling of what you're hoping to accomplish, what your goals are, because that's where it all starts. What's the intention, and then we could go from there. To me, I'm a people person, and I love having the opportunity to connect. So feel free to book some time with me there, and we could just get a better sense on what it is that you hope to do with your show, what you've done already, or what you hope to do in the future if you haven't yet started your show.
Very nice. Very nice. Billy, thanks a lot for jumping onto the show. I hope that we can get you on again in the future, but for now, it was a great pleasure to speak with you.